2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Jake Knapp is the inventor of the Design Sprint and the New York Times bestselling author of the book Sprint. He's also the co-founder of Character, a venture fund for early-stage startups. How and why did you start using Miro?
I came from this position of thinking, I don't want to be doing stuff online, to thinking now when I do a sprint in person with a company, it's like, we're going to use Miro, even though we're all in the same room, because that's a better way for us to get this work done. As an investor, we're basically investing in their ability to solve problems. We're saying, we think this group of people is going to be able to solve a problem in a really great way and create value by doing it. And actually, you need to give people the tools that can help them make decisions, help them collaborate, help them visualize and see things in a different way. And Miro does all those things. So to me, at least as an investor, I'm thinking, give the team the tools that are going to help them think, that are going to make the most, brighten their skills as smart folks. And Miro is at the top of that list.
Shaq Thompson for a 3-yard loss. Shaq busting through. My goodness. And what we've seen is North turning offense coming to fruition because Cam is actually a pocket quarterback. Who knew? Oh my goodness.
Tackles the Camry, busting through at the 30, 35, 40. Quick race down the right side. Here he goes at the 50, 40 to the Miami 30, 20 at the 10. A swipe with the ankles. They can't get him. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey.
They can't get him. They can't get him.
They can't get them. But you can catch us every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. The C3 Panthers podcast. Brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Cody Lashney, what's up, my brother?
Man, listen, there are a lot of things that you can call me in my life, but one of those things better be Nostradamus, baby, because I'm out here calling my shots, pointing to the rafters and hitting home runs on the C3 podcast. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be a little bit boastful tonight, but I think it's deserved. We'll get into it. It's another Tuesday night. We're talking Panthers football with the best Panther fans in the nation in our chat room. We love you guys. Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Tonight's show is episode 19.15. Panthers are all or nothing, and we knew it. Cody Lashney knew it. That's right. The Panthers are scheduled to be, not scheduled, they will be and are already have been because it's been filmed. They will be the focus, the team of choice for Amazon Prime's All or Nothing series, where they embedded a camera group with the team the previous year. So this will be an embedded group, a documentary watching the Panthers 2018 season. And Cody, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, I know we wish it was this upcoming season, because like you said, somebody blew it up on Twitter and said, let me go ahead and spoil this for you. Nothing here. But at the same time, that's the big news, man. This has exploded. Panthers are going to be the focus of this. It's big for the team. Before we get into the gloating, Cody, just exciting by nature, right? To have this inside look at a team that we love.
I mean, the Panthers have probably never been in a production this big before. I mean, this is going to be the first time that you'll see the inside, all the ins and outs of the Panthers this season. I know Tony and I have compiled a list. We've each put together some things that we really wanted to see in depth about what happened this past season, and we're gonna go through all of those. But yeah, I'm excited about it, and honestly, I'm happier, even though this seems kind of contradictory. I'm almost happier that we're going to Chronicle last season than we are this season, because there are a few things that happened last season that I want to be able to know and see what happened behind the scenes. I want to see how certain issues and things were handled, as opposed to how we were saying it was on the show, and how close we were to some of the thoughts and things that we were saying at the time. So,
will we have confirmation of what we talked about on the C3 Panthers podcast? Were our concerns legitimate? Where were the struggles? All of those different things. Yeah. I'm with you, is that it's kind of, I think that it will help us bring some closure to the 2018 season, Cody, because if this was Hard Knocks, which I don't know if we're actually eligible to be part of, but, you know, you are getting pumped for the season coming up. There are so many questions there. Maybe that piques your excitement. But on the other hand, the Amazon Prime series can help us deliver some closure here. And let's go ahead and close this. Is Cody, 6 months ago, you were on this podcast, breaking news. Let's go ahead. Let's go back to a clip from, I think it was episode 18.35. That means we're like 25 episodes back. Over 6 months ago, Cody. Cody, pull it up and let's see what we were talking about on the C3 Panthers podcast.
Man, listen. So I want to start off by saying this. If I end up being wrong, then I will be icing up myself in a few coming this offseason. But I have a buddy that works for a delivery company that basically ships out packages to from Amazon to people in Charlotte. And he had a delivery to Bank of America Stadium. Well, as he was going to the front gate, they normally open it up for him. The security guard stops him and says, "Hey, man, I can't let you through. You're going to have to check the package right here." My buddy Angel asked him why. He said they're filming a documentary on the Panthers, and to be honest with you, my man, I'm not even supposed to tell you that. So,
woo! Inside tip. Close your eyes, folks. Deliver the package. Don't look around. Black bag over your head type secrecy stuff.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, hold on. What kind of documentary would they be filming that no one's allowed to know about? And that's when a light bulb went off above your boy's head. I seem to think, and I might be wrong, time will tell, but if I'm right, remember where you heard it here first on the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles. Baby, you already know what it is. I have a hunch that the Panthers are going to be the subject of the next Amazon Prime All or Nothing series that chronicles the entire 2018 Carolina Panthers season. That's my hunch. You've heard it here first. I don't know what other documentary would have to be held so hush-hush this far out in advance. They always announce it after the season is already wrapped up and over. I've said my piece. You have a little bit of what's potential inside information. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We on the C3 podcast are like Babe Ruth. We're pointing our bat to the upper deck and we're telling you we're hitting this shit out of the park. We said it on the show 6 months ago. I told you that the Panthers were going to be on All or Nothing, and come on. You can call me Nostradamus, but you can't call me a Nostradamus, baby. I'm telling you, we are calling our shots. I called it, Tony Don. I called it.
That's good news, people.
It's good news, people. It's good news, people. Cody Lashney with it. Look, this is where you got when you got friends in low places, Cody.
Yeah,
this is what we can do, and I like this. This is the crowning achievement, one of the crowning moments in this podcast for this very reason. We have meant to be an organization of fans, a network of fans, a nation of fans working together. We're like the Borg of Panther fans in some ways, is that we all, what I want is us all, and I want all Panther fans to be like this, is to use Twitter, use the C3 Panthers podcast and all of these media forms, Reddit, whatever you're doing, and let's create the most hyper watchful fan group in the history of the world. This is awesome. This is like I know the man who picks up the trash on Cam Newton's trash route. And he has noticed that he's not eating fish anymore. I love this, Cody. This is fantastic. Your ear is to the ground. You've picked up the secret codes. You're a code breaker, Cody Lashney. We called it the C3 Panthers podcast. All in, all or nothing.
All in, all or nothing, baby. And listen, you're right. That's what this show is for. We all give out our Twitter handle at the end of the show. If any of you have information that you want to get out about the Panthers that you feel might be legitimate, you can send it to us, and we might say it on the show. This is for the fans, by the fans. Okay?
We are
this
not trying, and if
show.
you listen to that show, that later on, we even say, we're not trying to triple source this. We want everything. We want I want to see, I saw Cam Newton at Whole Foods yesterday. I want the fan that saw Steve Smith take the call from David Tepper in Whole Foods or Harris Teeter. I want a fan snapping that and sending it to us. That'd be fantastic. All right, look, is the Panthers going to be the focal point of an Amazon Prime series? It's really good. The one on the Cardinals was fantastic. Amazon does a great job with this. I love anything that you can binge watch. I know I will binge watch this.
Yeah, me too.
And as we binge watch this, Cody, what will be on your mind? You want to go ahead and jump into these lists of things that you want to see in this series. And what I mean by this is that if we could have unfettered access, which we know that this will be cut, a lot of this will be on the clipping floor of the real room or whatever they call it. But Cody, if you had your insight into any of these subjects, what's your number one thing that you would like to see?
So my number one's a little bit blatantly obvious, but I think it's probably on the forefront of everybody's mind. It's probably a lot of people's number one. It's the shoulder surgery. I want to see, we all seem to think it was when TJ Watt in that Pittsburgh game blew up Cam Newton's shoulder. That's all when we kind of think the injury happened. But how did Cam Newton take it? How did the locker room take it? How aware was other players in the locker room? How aware were they that Cam Newton was as seriously hurt as he was? I think that's an important story. Everything surrounding Eric Reid last season, bringing him in early in the season, to all the numerous amount of drug tests that they administered to him over the course of the season. He had a scuffle, which I believe we have a video of that we can pull up in a minute.
All right, so your number one is Cam Newton, his shoulder.
Yeah.
Number two is the addition of Eric Reid. We want to ask the chat room, too, to get into this. What is the storyline you want to most know about when it comes to the 2018 Carolina Panthers? Cody, I'll start my list. Number one for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, number two for me was Eric Reid. So we're right there.
Okay.
Is that was number two. Number one is kind of boring to me, kind of like yours, is that, of course, we want to know about Cam. For me, it's I'm going to combine 1 and 5 so I can get one more. The toll of 8 straight losses. I want to know what the toll of 8 straight losses was, particularly, and this is the second part of it, on Ron Rivera. Was he feeling the hot seat?
Yeah.
How did that pressure come through? 8 straight losses to me, and that's the number one thing. I think there's an emotional component there that that the frustration will be palpable, and that they will highlight that. So number one for me, the toll of 8 and the hot seat for Ron Rivera. Number 2, Eric Reed. And the reason I want to go ahead and let's go ahead and pull up the video, Cody, is that Eric Reed, Panthers suffer some injury when it comes to Denoris Cersei, who they just released last week, repetitive concussion, really struggling there, and they go out there and get Eric Reed. And then immediately as Eric Reed's added to the team, we know that Eric Reed will continue to be Eric Reed. Check out this from Philadelphia. Go ahead and play it. There's no audio. So Eric Reed and Malcolm Jenkins is squaring off, and this is Torrey Smith trying to stop him and hold him back at that point. But Eric Reed coming to the team in the background or on the aftermath of the Kaepernick saga to join the Carolina Panthers, and a team too that also struggled a bit throughout the season, or a lot of bit throughout the season. Cody, where does Eric Reed sit for you when it comes to this storyline? I guess number 2, right?
Yeah, it is my number 2. And because really, it really does speak to the culture of our team. You have someone that was very outspoken on a very hot button issue that a lot of people either loved or hated to talk about. Most probably hate. And how that kind of persona fit into our locker room of established veterans with guys like Greg Olsen and Thomas Davis and Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly and all these people, and how he was able to fit and gel with the chemistry of our team, and basically how he was able to fit into that. But then something that you said is my number 3, and you mentioned that 8 losses back to back, all in a row, and mine's on Ron Rivera in the locker room, because apparently Ron Rivera never lost the locker room. He never lost the morale of the football team, if you believe what we're being told. I want to see what kind of leader Ron Rivera is in a situation and where the team is losing that bad. And the reason why All or Nothing is such a great documentary series is they go into the meetings with the coaches. So they'll show you what the coaches are saying to one another. I mean, it really is unprecedented. All
right, I'm going to one-up you. My number 3 is one-upping you and building on yours. You talk about wanting to see the locker room.
Yours might be my number 4.
Eric Washington, the demotion, the problems that surrounded this defense. What you're talking about is that access to the coaching meetings there. We know that Ron Rivera's knees shook, or actually around week 10, later, week 11, he pulls the clipboard from Eric Washington.
Yeah.
We have debated whether this was Eric Washington being the problem, whether the defense getting old was being the problem, whether it's a combination of things, which we do think that was the fair evaluation. The lack of ability from the edge to create a pass rush put in a lot of stress on the coordinator to do some different things. But at the end of the day, Eric Washington demoted in everything but name, should I say. Ron Rivera takes over the play call and the reins. The attitude of the defense immediately changes. But then add to that Eric Washington's still a part of this team going forward here. Ron Rivera, the, I guess, quote-unquote defensive coordinator, to me, that is a top storyline to watch.
And now I see your move. Now let me check you. Let me one up you, because my number 4 is how the handling of the fired coaches went. We had 3 coaches that were fired this past season. One of them was Brady Hoke, who was the former head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, Jeff Imamura, and one other gentleman, I forget his name. Will they get any time in the documentary? But how much is it going to tap on the inadequacies or the perceived inadequacies of these coaches and why they needed to be fired at that time, and what ultimately led to that? And I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but at the time, those firings just felt like, well, Ron Rivera has to do something, because nothing that we're doing right now is having any kind of success. So you better make some kind of changes. I mean, we had no pass rush. Teams were throwing the ball all over us on third down, and it just seemed like they were almost the fall guys in that whole situation.
Well, all of our picks, the last 3, if you combine your pick, my pick, then your pick again, all have to do with the same thread. Actually, going back to all of this is surrounding that culture in the locker room, the meetings, the staff, the problem with the toll of 8 straight, and all of that to finish the season under 500 or at 5, whatever it was, after the 6-2. Right. It's going to be brutal. You know that they were going to be pushing that. I think all 3 of those continued. They follow the same storyline, the same narrative. They tease at the same things.
Yeah, they really do. And my 5th and final one kind of plays into that as well. And that's C.J. Anderson. And C.J. Anderson, at the start of the season, we were all saying that he was going to be an important part of our offense.
This is such a good one. This is one that's going to be forgotten. This is so good.
C.J. Anderson, the fact that we just let him go after the trade deadline, didn't try and get any kind of value for him on the free market. We just said to C.J. Anderson, hey, we're going to continue to run Christian McCaffrey into the ground. Thank you for your services. Now go play in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl with the Rams. So I'm very interested to see how disgruntled CJ was. If it came across on camera, how upset he was at the lack of snaps that he was receiving. And I think that's another thing that goes into the culture. How did other players around him react to that? Or, what happened in the locker room as this was all coming to a head, pretty much?
A lot of good conversation on YouTube. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button if you're watching there. Help the show grow. Some ones on YouTube. Audley says this is why it took so long for DJ Moore to get in the game. That was on my list too, is how the rookies, and then add to that, not only why did it take so long for those guys to get on the field, but him and then Curtis Samuel and that remarkable success where every Sunday we had to watch this after they finally did start him. It was like 1 catch, 57 yards and a touch. Like their stats were remarkable for so little play. And I think Curtis Samuel had a touchdown like on every 5 plays or something like that. Something crazy. But asking that question, why did it take so long for those rookies to get in there, how they responded, and I'm curious to see what that, Norv Turner and them, they just be giggling and getting along.
Yeah, and that's another thing right there. Norv Turner, his first season as the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, and when we were 6-2, things seemed to be rolling, man. I remember after that win against the Baltimore Ravens, man, we were riding high at that point in time. It looked like our offense was dynamic. We were going to be able to run the football with Christian McCaffrey, and we were going to be able to distribute the football to these incredible exterior players that you can use in all different kinds of formations in DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. And then, how did that affect things early on when the offense was gelling? And it brings me back to number one, man. That shoulder really did seem to topple a lot of things in the season. Now, granted, Cam Newton doesn't play on defense, so it isn't everything, but that shoulder was a large part of why our offense wasn't able to get over the top last year. So I feel, I mean, that's why it's my number one. Seeing how Cam Newton handled it, his, how the team rallied around him, and how the coaches monitored that situation going forward. And I'm curious if there was ever a debate on whether or not to pull Cam Newton earlier than that New Orleans game.
We will never. That's something that will never reach the audience.
You think so?
That's what I actually. Once we get through the list, that is probably to me the most fascinating thing here is what they do reveal. All right, next for me on the list was Dante Jackson, his early success, and then the setback he had with injury. I think that'll be a big time storyline, and I think Dante Jackson will be a big part of that series because he's so vocal.
Oh, another one that just popped into my head. How about Julius Peppers' final season as a Carolina Panther? Thomas Davis as well. But Julius Peppers, this was also around the time that he was doing the hurricane relief efforts around where he's from. And he was going
they'll have to show that. They'll be out
they're
there
definitely going to show that. Yeah,
how did not more people notice that this is happening? How did the C3 Panthers podcast, how were we the only entity in the world that broke this?
Because nobody can do what we can do, man. It's that simple.
All right, last one for me was Funchess, his back, and the bench. Devin Funchess, you're going to watch Devin Funchess in this season. We know that he's no longer part of the team. But boy, he had that stretch where he dropped he dropped a lot of passes in a row. Then all of a sudden he's benched. They say it's his back. I'll be interested to see. You know that they're gonna tease that pressure, not performing. That's gonna be part of this show.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in that game where he went back home against Detroit, I mean, he dropped absolutely everything that was thrown at him. And, that's the game that caused the coaches to essentially lose faith in Devin Funchess. And it's evident in the amount of snaps that he received later on that season. I mean, we rarely ever had him out on the field. So if it was a mixture of injury, if it was just absolutely no faith in Devin Funchess, I don't know what it was, but Devin Funchess at the end of the season fell off the face of the earth. And I'm definitely interested to see how that happened.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. We encourage you to subscribe, smash the thumbs up button, share the show with a friend. Contact us on the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. Go ahead and save that in your phone, folks. You can call any day of the week at any time and leave a message for the podcast. We'll get you on. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. We've been here talking tonight. The Panthers are all or nothing, and we knew it. We've been talking about how it has been announced that the Carolina Panthers will be the focal point of the documentary All or Nothing on Amazon Prime. Cody Lashney called it, so we've been excited about that. A lot of stories, even all Lee saying here, Cody, is we got to see, did Kyle Love really take a nap on the sidelines? That is a storyline that needs to be found with this documentary. All right, 2 news with the Carolina Panthers. We did have rookie mini camps this week. They did things a little different. We talked about that on the show maybe last week. A little smaller bit of a group, but not a lot of news coming out of the Panthers mini camp. No news of injury, so that's good for me. For me, this is what I saw, is that Greg Little is going to be the face of this franchise 10 years going forward, to the degree of, if he's good, he can every bit be the Jordan Gross, the guy that steps up to the camera, that does those perfunctory interviews in the offseason, even when times are tough. Greg Little getting a lot of hype. And in my opinion, they're already saying, you are our left tackle. That's more than we've heard. That's a big vote of confidence in this young rookie. A lot of pressure, too.
Yeah, there really is a lot of pressure. And, especially when in his very first conference call, he says, I'm going to protect Cam Newton. And let me tell you, that's the right thing to say if you want to get on the good side of the hearts and minds of the players and the coaches, and especially as fans. But like I said, I love the chip on his shoulder because, he knows the knock on him is that he wasn't very aggressive and that he could have done things better as far as, being angry about finishing your block and just making damn sure no one gets to your quarterback. And I mean, I want a left tackle with a chip on his shoulder. Like I said, when we were scouting all these players, Greg Little, I wasn't very high on him, but it was because of a lot of the things I just said. He wasn't very aggressive on film, but he was a better pass protecting left tackle than he was a run defending left tackle. And that's what you want. You want a left tackle that will keep your quarterback's blind side 100% clean. And he had the longest arms of any tackle in the draft. He moves well for a guy that's 320 pounds. His hips are fluid. I mean, he has all the things that you want to be a franchise left tackle, and he's saying the right things as well. So it's hard to not like everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah, is that what I like about Greg Little? To me, I have no idea what he's going to be on the field, but they've put a lot of camera time in front of him, a lot of microphone in his face. And I would say he seems a little young. You know what I'm saying? He seems like a big, giant child in some ways. And not a child, that's not insulting. Yeah. What I mean is that he is enormous, but also a 21-year-old kid. And, we were all kids when we were 21. I was. I think, too, when some of the things that we might interpret as nerves, where he's kind of slowly working through the questions at times, where some people say, oh, he's nervous with all the tension. I think it's actually a sign that he's thinking through these questions in an honest, authentic, and advanced way. His answers, each answer to each question has not been it has been thoughtful. That's what it has been. It has been thoughtful, and even if he's off guard at times. So I am very impressed by that. I could see him being what a Matt Khalil, what a Greg Olsen, what a Thomas Davis was for this team and is for this team in 8 or 10 years. I love that idea. For me, though, the thing that sticks out to me with Greg Little and the nice Charlotte media, Cody, Jordan Rodriguez, she's going to ask him about, does he have a mean streak? And she's going to try to ask it and be nice, and it's all weird. It's like, so, what, do you have a mean?
How mean are you?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I want to ask you this. I've got to ask you this. This is what the reporter.
Are you angry on the inside?
Yeah, and it is just, we're going to have to hear about Greg Little. Can he be a mean man for, I don't know, ever, I think.
Well, hey, until he proves otherwise. I mean, the fact that we're going to be talking about it a lot, and the fact that it's already been something that's mentioned a lot and people in the know about. I mean, like I said, it's a chip on his shoulder. Greg Little has to be, all right, y'all, you want to see a mean mofo? Well, I can be that mean mofo.
He can't. Not in the interviews, he can't. You know what he's going to have to do? He's going to have to just tackle Jordan Rodriguez. Right there. He's going to have to slap the recorder out of all their hands. Be like, I'm mean as hell. I'm mean. I've been trying. I look nice. I talk nice. I'm sorry I'm nice.
Or maybe a kid asks him for an autograph, and it's like a towel or something, and he just blows his nose with it and throws it back at him.
He's got to do something. He's got to do
Some real
something to make
disrespectful shit.
every mom mad. Like I don't know what he can do, but he cannot. He needs to ask Cam. Say, Cam, what would you do if you want to piss everybody off in the world? Because that's what I need to do. I mean.
Yeah. Cam's pretty, but see, that's the thing, though. Cam's so nice, it's the opposite. Like, all Cam Newton does is smile. I mean, he's smiling all the time, you know?
He'll be like, just be happy and dance in front of him. Well, that's what he's going to say. He's going to say, mash some guy, and then, like, dab and Superman over him. And
No, how about this? He needs to learn from Steve Smith, that grumpy old bastard.
Yep.
And his bad attitude. That's what Greg Little needs to learn from.
I need to get mean. I'm going to mean camp. Steve Smith shows up at your door. Welcome to Mean Camp, hosted by Steve Smith. Like, what was that? The Major Payne. You remember Major Payne?
Oh yeah, I remember Major Payne.
Yeah, where he's like talking shit to all those little kids the whole movie. So good. That's what we need. We need Major Payne. Greg Little to become Major Payne. All right. All right. The other thing for me for minicamp is I saw that Christian Miller really talking up about becoming friends and working hard, make a connection with Brian Burns, both of them rookies. Defensive end, linebacker, similar prospect in many ways. Just one is a 16 pick and one's a 4th. But to me, that's the only other thing that stuck out to me about this mini camp that I heard about.
Yeah, so I've heard a few things, and it was mentioned in chat. Apparently, Terry Godwin, our last draft pick, was catching everything, even out in the rain. So that was a good thing. And then there was also Brian Burns, our first-round draft pick. And by the way, shout out to Rich Kingston, a longtime fan and listener. He actually taught me the difference between like what it looks like when someone has new muscle and new weight that they've put on, and muscle that's just a part of their body, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. That there's this thing called muscle maturity, and he doesn't have a lot of that yet, but you can tell that he has put on bulk. It's just not a lot of very defined muscle, so that means that it's brand new muscle. It's weight that hasn't been on his body all that long. But what that does tell me, though, is that Burns is making an effort to really bulk up and put on more mass, and apparently he was as fast as ever, even on the field. So that's what you want to hear, man. If you have an undersized defensive end that you drafted in the first round, you do want to hear that it's not a problem for him to be able to put on more mass and be able to play at the same style and pace. So I think that was a good takeaway as well.
All Lee he's just bringing the fire tonight, but with the comment of the night, All Day 3 says Eric Reed and Greg Little will share a locker this year. That's the way to toughen them up.
Both of them. They're both going to fight each other over that.
All right. That's the comment of the night to me. All right, so let's go this. All right, so we got that. Burns maturing muscles. Nothing else really coming out of this to me. Anything else to ask before we turn to the roster, Cody?
Yeah, two things. I grabbed these videos just because it's Panther related, and I felt that it was worth noting. By the way, shout out to Susan Dean, who did give us another super chat. We love you, Susan. You don't have to do what you do, but you always do it, and we love you and we thank you for it. And by the way, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Amen.
In Panther Nation. Absolutely. Mom, if you're listening, you know I love you. But yeah, so the Hurricanes are playing in the playoffs right now, and Ron Rivera already sounded the alarm, but tonight they had another special Panther sounding the alarm for the playoffs.
Crank it up.
Get it, Luke.
Probably needs some new oil.
Man, did you see Luke? He was going after that thing, man.
Yeah, he was.
He was he was feeling that alarm
Canes
pump.
aren't right now. Good God.
What's happening right now?
They were down 2-1. Oh, they just got on the board. They're down 2-1. 2-1. All right, Canes, we need you to come back in PNC. All right, so we got the guys being a part of, and Coach was there the last week or whatever.
Yeah, Ron Rivera did it 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And something that we definitely, all the three, damn, I feel so sorry for that crank. Yeah, me too, man. Me too, man. I wouldn't want to be on his on Luke's bad side. But then everyone's favorite quarterback had a birthday, y'all. And the Roaring Riot went out of their way to surprise our man. Let's take a look.
It's exhilarating just to keep coming out year after year and seeing, a little niche towards, a better outlook. Feels like whether different guests to bigger venue with this year and just, overall appreciation for everybody that shows up, whether celebrities that came out of their busy schedule, or even just the fans coming out.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but these guys behind you got something to tell you right here.
Hey, hug Cam Newton. I'm crying. That's Cam Newton.
Appreciate you. That's what's up.
If that doesn't make your heart smile, I don't know what will, ladies and gentlemen. If that does not do it for you, you're dead on the inside. Listen, man, our franchise quarterback, Cam Newton, just turned 30 years old. And I also wanted to bring this up, that there are so many quarterbacks that didn't experience the best playing time of their careers until after they turned 30 years old. And I mean, that was true with Drew Brees. That's been true with, I believe, Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how old Aaron Rodgers is, but he was in that late 20s to early 30s.
He was early.
So listen, like Cam Newton is I know we're all concerned about the shoulder, but listen, man, if he comes back, he has more wisdom under his belt. He knows what he's doing. He has more trust in this offense than ever before. With Christian McCaffrey and now Greg Olsen coming back, I honestly believe that at 30 years old, you have not seen the best of Cameron Jarrell Newton. And I believe that like I sit here in front of you right now.
Nice to see that. Look, the Run Riot, they know how to tug on the Cam Newton heartstrings right there. Look, Cam's our biggest star ever.
We love him, man.
He's our biggest star that Charlotte's ever
Cam
had.
Newton.
Yeah, and 30 years old, 30 years young. I like to see 7 more years out of Cam Newton, 10 more years out of Cam Newton. I think it can happen. Cam Newton he can get better. That's the thing, is that the media wants everybody to be the best that they can be right now, yesterday. And if they didn't, they're a failure. But Cam Newton has been fantastic for the Carolina Panthers. He's kept us relevant no matter what. He's been the biggest change to an organization. He's something we needed so desperately. And then he's lived up to that billing. And I love to think that Cam Newton can only get better. So if this shoulder heals up, I'm excited about that. All right, Cody, let's do this. Let's turn to this. Is tonight's show really the only subject matter is that we're post-draft, and I was sitting here thinking about what can we talk about on the show other than just these, kind of fan moments, these fanboy moments. Look at that, like Jones sitting there, I was catching Cam Newton's sweat. That's what I would have been doing. I saw you doing it, Joan, catching his sweat and keeping it like that old movie where that guy drank those tears in jail. I forget what it was. I should know it more. It was like Elvis songs in it or something like that. It had Johnny Depp in it. That's who had it. The chat room will tell us all about it. But what I want to talk about here is we are out of the draft right now. We have done free agency. We're sitting here in the early stages. Panthers rookie minicamp. You signed to nobodies. The roster is kind of where it's at for the moment. Going into training camp, there could be additions, but let's go ahead and look at the roster, Cody. I want us to do an early assessment of what the Panthers are working with, strengths, weaknesses, and some things that have gone or what directions we're trending. When it comes to the offseason, the Carolina Panthers, I think, allocated a lot to Eric Reed being an important addition here. They also bolstered the offensive line with the adding of Paradis, the interesting signing of Darrell Williams, and then they really invested on the defensive line when it comes to the draft, the trenches. So right now, where's Marty Hurney sitting with this roster right now, Cody?
I believe as of right now, and then apparently before the show, sometime at some point, we signed another tight end. I don't know if he played in the AAF or something like that, but or he was one of the practice players. So I mean, I have to think that they're probably pretty confident going into the season with the current depth that we have. Now, after training camp, that roster will be slimmed down even more. But, I also, and I've said this before, I maintained that I would have tried to grab another safety to put at a position next to Eric Reed. I felt that would have been beneficial to us. I would have done that over a quarterback, but hey, we've already talked about that ad nauseum.
Right now, the safety class, right now, just to give people listening a kind of gist of what the safety class right now listed on the Carolina Panthers website. Eric Reed, obviously starting, we would call him the starting strong safety. Damian Parms, Kai Nukwai, BYU. I'm guessing no, he's never played. Cole Luke.
Well, his picture, he's wearing a Browns jersey, so I guess he played for the Browns at some point.
Good point. Cole Luke, Colin Jones, Rashawn Golden, and Corey
Colin Jones
Ballard. Guys, first of all, when you look at the depth chart in this way, I can see why people are going crazy about us drafting a safety in the draft and needing one. Is that even if you're a Rashawn Golden fan like I am, who thinks that he could be a free, you don't know what you have yet, don't give up on him. There is no depth here, guys. Colin Jones is going to play this year. Damian Parnes never plays. Everybody's always excited about him. This group is not only, Eric Reed is the only piece in this group that we know anything about, and behind that is very thin, Cody.
Yeah, it is very thin. I mean, other than Eric Reed, you have a bunch of who, what, when, where, and hows behind him. I mean, do we have any faith in Colin Jones to do anything worth the damn?
Well, will play. He will play, guaranteed. There's going to be. He's probably going to be starting by the beginning of the season. Somebody's going to get hurt. Colin Jones is going to play significant time.
I mean, then there are guys that we just don't have a lot of information about. We don't know about Rashawn Golden. I felt that from his tape and from his numbers at the combine year before last. Or not this past draft, but the one before, that he wasn't fast enough to play the free safety position. So if they want to put him in the box, maybe put Eric Reed at the free safety position, which is kind of where we don't feel he's best suited. We feel that Eric Reed is best suited to be another linebacker of sorts, kind of, in the box. And other than that, it's just a bunch of players that we have no idea who they're going to be. Cole Luke is 32 years old. Kai Luka is 36. Damian Parms, that's not right. That says he's 45 years old.
Those are his. Those are the jersey numbers.
Oh, I'm all the way stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Look, all the
Yep,
way.
no, you're right. Because Eric Reed is not 25. All right, yep. I'm icing myself up. But all right, yeah, all right. I was about to say 45. Who the hell is 45 playing football?
Damian Parms can't get on the field, and he's been in the NFL for 20 years.
He's been in there that long. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
All right, so what we got here is
nobody's, man.
Yeah, there's some concern there, and then behind Galden, if you're concerned about Galden and being unproven, you have not seen any of those other guys play. I think when you come to this is that continuing on the secondary, well, since we're in the secondary, let's keep with it. A lot of confidence going forward in James Bradbury and Dante Jackson seem to be leading this group a storyline that people will hope for that will not matter, probably Ross Cockrell. I'm thinking that his injuries again may be too much for him to come back at this point still. But they are following that story. But here, look at this, we got Kevon Seymour, Corn Elder, Ross Cockrell, Lorenzo Doss. Nobody really proven behind them at that point when it comes to, I think we're investing a ton, saying James Bradbury obviously been healthy his entire career to this point. Well, not his entire career. He had some problems his rookie year. But a lot of faith being put in James Bradbury, Dante Jackson, I think rightfully so. I'm okay with this group at this point, but bar any injuries here is going to be tough.
Yeah, and this is another position that a lot of people thought that we might address more in depth in the draft as well. I'm personally glad that we didn't, because I like all the picks that we were able to grab. But corner is another position that we have Dante Jackson, and then really. And we have James Bradbury. But then if you think about it even more, we still kind of don't know, who James Bradbury is. Is he going to be someone that we're going to re-sign down the road? I know a lot of people, either love Bradbury or they hate Bradbury. I mean, trust me, we remember all the cat calls of people calling in complaining about James Bradbury. So we're going to have another season with him on the outside and Dante Jackson on the other side. And then that nickel slot corner position, you have a few players that might be able to fill that role. You have a Kevon Seymour, Corn Elder, who was drafted to be that player in the first place. And then at a certain point in time, they were saying that Rashawn Golden would also be a nickel cornerback type of player. So, yeah, our backfield, as it has been traditionally, and I feel it is this way now, it's the biggest hole and question mark on our team right now. We have some good players in Dante Jackson and Eric Reed, but outside of that, there isn't a lot of proven talent that you feel confident about.
Yeah, I think when you look at stuff like this, and if we went through the league, we're probably going to see that, and we'll probably see this in some other position groups that we get to, is that you're really counting on what you're counting on. You're counting on James Bradbury and Dante Jackson working. Is that if James Bradbury goes down, and all of a sudden you're talking about Dante Jackson being the leader in that group, maybe Ross Cockrell coming off an injury, contributing. What do you do at that point? Is that right now you can't afford to lose anybody, and we have 90 people on the roster. That's a little scary there to me. The secondary is not only partially unproven in some places, is that the guys behind them are certainly unproven. So I have optimism in some of those guys, but boy, behind it working perfectly, there could be some problems there. Sticking with the defense, let's go to something that was a weakness last year. We could not get any pressure off the ends. Right now, we're doing a defensive change. It seems like the Panthers aggressively going from a 4-3 to a 3-4, even though they keep not saying that. Addison, 31 years old, Brian Cox Jr., Marquise Haynes, F.A. Obata, they are the listed defensive ends on the team. But with this new scheme, I think you could throw in, obviously, Brian Burns. You could throw in Christian Miller, and you also could throw in, help me out, from the Seahawks, Irvin.
Bruce
not
Irvin.
Michael Irvin, Bruce Irvin.
Bruce Irvin.
So when you think about the ends and you add in those linebacker ends, is that group actually has a little bit more depth than I would expect off of a group that was so bad last year or so thin last year.
Yeah, and so before we go any further, Ken Die in the chat is asking us, do we know anything about the original free agents that we got? The only one that I know off the top of my head is this Ethan Wolf guy that I'm looking at. He is a tight end who played at Tennessee. He's about the only one that I know of. I really don't know of any of the other ones and what they bring to the team or not. Tony, as to what you were saying, the fact that we now essentially have three positions that are also going to be designated as a linebacker as well, that's a big change for us going into the season. I mean, we're all expecting Brian Burns, Bruce Irvin, and Christian Miller to be pass rushers, but part of being a linebacker, I mean, even if you're Von Miller, sometimes you do drop back in the coverage. And that's something that they're at some point going to have to do. It won't be anything crazy. It'll be that midfield Thomas Davis kind of role. But in situations like that, you do want versatile players, which is why you do have guys that are 250 pounds instead of, 275 pounds, like a traditional defensive end. So, on that front, it's a different look for us. And then you have to factor in Jermaine Carter is another player that we're hoping to see a lot more of this year. Andre Smith out of North Carolina. You have to feel that the coaches are probably pretty confident with what they've seen in them.
Zero experience behind Luke and Shaq there.
Yeah, 100%. And they're probably hoping to see a lot from both of them this season. In the preseason, to know what kind of depth they have, because if Luke or Shaq goes down, there's no more David Mayo.
Bad news.
Yeah, no more David Mayo. There's no more Thomas Davis. There's no more the guy that went to New Orleans. I'm blanking on his name right now.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but he had the long hair at one point.
Guys,
I don't know. Anyway, the chat.
What you're bringing up to me that was weird here is that when we look at last year's team and we look at the deficiencies of it, and you look at the linebacker position, you think this is that. Oh, and we didn't even mention this when we were talking about the storylines, Cody. What's the super storyline with a linebacker who's not part of the team anymore that we need to know about with All or Nothing? I don't think we even mentioned it. Your guy, Thomas Davis, coming back from suspension, that's got to be part of the All or Nothing series.
Yeah, it has to be. And, I want to know. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And also seeing how that affected, the linebacker core with Shaq Thompson. I remember last year Shaq Thompson was saying it was going to be the year of 54. And he was seeing 54 everywhere, and it just didn't turn out that way.
And then when you look at that,
AJ Klein, by the way, thank you to Scott Thomas.
Well done, AJ Klein. Oh, but when you think about it, is that we're talking about you thinking a wealth of riches at linebacker when you have Thomas Davis, You had Shaq Thompson. You had Luke Kuechly, and then these, is that too many? Now all of a sudden we're going from too much experience and too many options with no options on defensive end. And to me, it's flipping a little bit. The traditional linebacker has gotten thin. And strangely, where we thought was a strength is that I would argue too, questions on defensive tackle here. If anything goes wrong with that 3-man rotation, Poe, Love, and KK, you're banking a lot on Vernon Butler, and going into a 3-4 defense is that I starting to think that some of our problems, we need to be able to stay healthy up the middle. That's what I'm saying.
And did we ever talk about this? The fact that we didn't pick up Vernon Butler's 5th-year option? I want to say that was some older news. Or did that happen?
I don't know if it happened in between weeks, but we did not get Vernon Butler's 5th-year option, which doesn't mean a ton. It just means this is that we definitely don't see him as a premier pick already.
No, and we've known that for a long time about him. And, like I said, it was an infuriating pick at the time because they drafted Vernon Butler to be an insurance policy in the case that we didn't re-sign Kawan Short or even Star Latulele, which, I felt that he should have been able to fill in for Star Latulele after he left, but instead we went out and got Dontari Poe. So, listen, I'm of the mindset that it's time to put up or shut up, man. If you're Vernon Butler, you have to know that if you want to get paid anywhere in the NFL, like, guys, how about this? Kelvin Benjamin might never play another snap of football ever again in his entire life. He had the opportunity to prove himself while he was in Carolina. Then it's time for him to get a second contract after being traded around, and now no one wants him. So is Vernon Butler going to be sent to that kind of purgatory, that kind of hell? Well, hey, man, it's up to him. You either show what kind of player you are this year or good riddance, man. Peace out. If you're not contributing, then what are you here for?
Let's go ahead and switch to the offensive side of the ball. When we look at this offensive team, it's like a weird reversal of what we've had in the past. Right now, it seems like all of a sudden we go from our weakness being the offensive line to potentially, hopefully, what we're thinking is a wealth of riches here. Moton, Williams, who you're going to start at right guard, top end draft pick with Greg Little left tackle. Then you've got a lot of guys behind them, whether it becomes to Van Larson, who is a utility guy, and also who else we got? Let's see. Center. Oh, we got Paradis of the middle, who is a Pro Bowler. It seems all of a sudden we go from the offensive line to being the one that's thin that we have problems with to now that could be something that's maybe a source of strength. And at the same time, our tight end picture, we're giving a ton. We're counting so much on Greg Olson's health coming back. Greg Olson, Ian Thomas, and Manhertz. That offensive line becomes the strength. Where are your concerns moving outwards out of them?
You might be able to say, okay, right now there are no proven names really in our receiving core. If we're going to talk about offense, if you talk about,
nobody over 6'1" either.
Yeah, nobody over 6'1". We have a bunch of smaller, faster receivers.
The pendulum has swung.
Yeah, really, we had Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin on the team, who were these monster, slow guys that were supposed to be possession receivers, and they didn't even turn out to be that. And then you really have a lot of inexperienced players at the receiving core. DJ Moore, a first-round pick, and Curtis Samuel, who's probably my favorite, personally, my favorite receiver prospect on the team right now. Just a ton of potential, a ton of upside. You just really hope that they take the next step. I hope that Curtis is dependable in his health and that he's able to play a full season and not have any heart issues or a broken.
Which another storyline? Did you bring that up earlier when we were talking about the storylines that he had damn heart surgery?
Oh yeah, I brought it up to you before the show, but we didn't mention it. Yeah, the fact that Curtis Samuel just out of nowhere a couple of days or something before the Dallas game to start the season, he had a heart murmur of some sorts, and he wasn't able to play right away. So that's another an interesting thing to watch out for. But other than that, it threads the same line. There's not a lot of high-end experience on the team right now.
But I think could be explosiveness and awesomeness is then in a perfect world. I think that there is concern with Curtis Samuel. Can he stay healthy? Will he fall the wayside of a Damiere Byrd in a sense? Maybe not as bad. But at the same time, I think that so many people, if you listen to the weirdos when it comes to like evaluating people, and they're like, DJ Moore can't be a number one. I'm so excited by DJ Moore. Ken Dye says he loves DJ Moore. He could be a powerhouse prospect. He looks like Steve Smith, but bigger to a degree. I am excited about this. I'm not writing him off as the next superstar in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to prove it. And Underground West in the chat says Curtis Samuel could be dangerous when healthy, elite even. And hey, I've always made the comparison that Curtis Samuel has the potential to take the top off in a similar manner to what Tyreek Hill, how Tyreek did for Kansas City before he started, breaking children's arms and shit. But that's here nor there. But I do agree, man. Curtis Samuel, when he was healthy, I mean, his ability to make separation and run routes was already so advanced. He has a good understanding for how to run the routes, get low on his breaks. Out of every receiver on the team that I'm most excited about right now, I would probably say Curtis Samuel would be my pick for that.
I tell you this is that I feel like we could weather injury more on the offensive side of the ball than we could on the defensive side right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that I think 100%. That the drop off from our wide receiver 1s to 2s is manageable. You could stick in a Torrey Smith, you could stick in a Jarris Wright. Those guys have experience that all of a sudden Chris Hogan, the tallest receiver, second tallest, good to Andre Leveron, who has never played.
and probably will never play.
Right. So to me is that I feel like right now when I look at, even if you go to the quarterback situation now with the addition of Will Grier, to me the side is the unknowns are now completely on the defensive side of the ball. Can the transition to that system pan out? And then, boy, there's not a lot of depth when it comes to that backfield or even straight up the middle. A little precarious situation for the defense. We'll be watching that closely, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things where I feel like it flip-flops every year. One year we have, decent depth on defense, and then next year it's the offense. I mean, listen, you're never going to be able to have quality depth at every single position. With a 53-man roster, it's just not possible.
I am worried about our secondary. Ross Cockrell.
Yeah, me too.
If Ross Cockrell is good, then I'll feel better. But I feel like what I'm saying is this is that we need him to be good and not and only find out if someone gets hurt. To me, like I'm just saying this is right now we have questions at the safety position. I'm okay with those questions, but even if Golden works out, everybody works out perfectly. I don't know how we deal with an injury, and there will be an injury in every position group. There's always an injury.
Yeah, it's the nature of football. Everyone's playing hurt.
That's the concern right there. Linebackers drop off, cornerbacks drop off. I think we'll be okay on the defensive line. To me, there is I don't know right now, just on paper at this moment, Cody, not the tremendous amount of either depth or experience there.
Listen, around this time last year, even later than this time last year, you and I were pounding the table for us to sign Eric Reed. And we didn't think that it would happen. And then sure enough, around week 3, it did happen. And so I don't want to say that we're not going to, although maybe I should say that we're not going to do it because that will cause us to actually go out and do it. But I just feel like, Eric Berry is still out there.
They're going to sign. They're going to sign Kurt Coleman, dude. That's who they'll sign. Trey
Boston seems the more likely of them. But yeah, I mean,
Kurt Coleman's probably in New York. It doesn't matter. He's probably with a Giant by this point.
Maybe so. I think it's probably, especially if they don't feel confident about the other safety position. Sometime by mid preseason, I think you're definitely going to see us go out and sign a safety. I feel that the depth at that position is that bad that it warrants us to go out and try and find someone to fill that hole. But yeah, we do have some holes on defense.
Bring back Mike Adams halfway through the season. All right, so look, let's go ahead and plow on through the show. We're almost done. We've done, ultimately, that's the roster, folks. We've got more. We'll go in depth even more so as we get closer there, more moves continue. Very perfunctory assessment there, early assessment of where the Panthers are looking like and roster, some of the strengths and weaknesses, how they flip-flop from last year to this season. All right, so what we're going to do is first, I need to go ahead and plead to you guys. If you're watching, smash the damn thumbs up button. Come on. Smash the thumbs up button and give us a like. If you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, on Periscope, Facebook, or wherever you get your podcasts, go ahead and give us a like, rating, leave us a message. Follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. And the way to be a part of the show is to call into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. You can leave a message anytime, any day. Get your voice heard on the C3 Panthers podcast. We only got one call tonight so far, Cody. So let me see. I thought I had it loaded up. Let me see. Hold on. Cody, tell them where they can follow you on Twitter while I pull it up.
At Cody Lax, CODYLAC. Yeah, man. And how about this, man? The Hornets, they got the 12th pick in the draft tonight, man. Are the Hornets not the definition of purgatory? Like, it's not heaven or hell.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's purgatory.
It's always like this middle of the pack. Kemba Walker's leaving, man. I don't know. Don't even get me started.
All right, here's the cat calls. 252-228-5098.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Boys, it's Cody or CK up here in Roanoke, VA.
CK, what's up, baby?
Just calling in, put my 2 cents in about something. Just read Cody's tweet about all or nothing. I'm not even kidding you, Cody. I was thinking about that statement you made in the middle of the season about your inside man telling you about some secretive shit going on down there.
He's our angel.
So I was literally thinking about that last week. I'm like, guess nothing came of that. But
yeah,
Cody Lack, you are right. Anyway, I wanted to offer my kudos to you and
thank you, brother.
say great reporting. Maybe we can get you in the locker room next year. Who knows? All right.
Hey, man.
Talk to you later.
Hey, man.
All right.
Let's do it.
Way to go, Cody. Compliments to you there. That's the cat calls for tonight. Easy peasy. We're going to get out of here. Lemon squeezy. Cody, we've talked about all or nothing. You being a Nostradamus.
Yeah.
We've talked about mini camps. Talking about the roster. Happy birthday to Cam Newton. Any other things that we may have missed here?
I don't think so, unless the chat has something that they want us to cover or go into detail on.
All right, well, then that's it.
Yeah.
Let's call it. We're 10 minutes. We're an hour and 15 minutes. Let's get these ice up picks in, and let's do it and get the show done with in record time in some ways. Cody, who do you got for an ice up pick this week?
Yeah, I don't have any videos to go along with it, but a woman by the name of Alyssa Milano was calling for a sex strike, which, you know, she made the point that it has been done in the past.
Cam Newton did it in February.
Cam Newton did it in February, and that's the only example you need.
Or March. Maybe March. It was March.
And the interesting thing about it, though, is this was it was apparently in opposition to Georgia abortion laws or whatever. But my thing is, if you're telling people to not have sex, then that means all the people that hold the exact opposite ideas from you are the only ones making babies and furthering those ideas that you disagree with. So how does that benefit your cause at all? I don't know, man. And then a lot of people really just jumped on her case about, you know, women enjoy sex too. It's not just for men, all this different crap. And it just blew up in her face, man. She's been a lightning rod on a lot of different issues. So she makes a fool out of herself. So, yeah, I would have to say, man, this Tuesday night, I'm going to have to ask Alyssa Milano to ice up, son.
Yeah, ice cold. She was already ice cold, obviously. She's already ice cold if she's calling for no sex. She already got ice. Yeah. She's an ice queen. No, I was going to say something. I saw that tweet, Cody, and I wanted to respond to it during the week, but I was like, I'm not going to get the Cat Chronicles, Carolina, the C3 podcast involved in the political mess that's going to fall out. But I did want to just say this from the Catholic perspective. That's exactly what the Catholic Church asks you to do. Instead of having abortions and extra babies, abstain. That is
Get your pants up.
That is what the Catholic Church, and I'm Catholic, they try to teach you this: no contraceptive, the rhythm method, this and that. So Alyssa Milano, welcome to the Catholic Church. You got to just all of a sudden become pro-life to the extreme that you are, the extreme of you. All right, ice up to you. My ice up pick this week.
Real quick, Trill one says she looks too good not to give it up.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't know. I haven't seen a picture of her in a long time. Apparently, she used to be hot as hell. But yeah, I don't know.
Big time. All right, my ice up pick this week goes to the Carolina Hurricanes, who lost by a bazillion goals on Sunday. They're losing now 2-1. All the hype, the excitement down. Lost 2 straight to the Bruins at home. The Bruins are owning you guys. There was so much momentum. Let's be a bunch of jerks and come back and win this game in the third quarter. If you don't, ice up. All right, Cody. My name's Tony Dunn. They can follow me at cat_chronicles. Cody, where can they get you on Twitter?
At CODYLAC. It's the off season, so there's not a lot going on Draft Tech. My Twitter account is basically anything goes, so follow at your own peril. But if ever you want to talk to me or ask me questions or whatever, just shoot the shit. You can absolutely do so. If you want to come on the show with us and you want to run it by me, absolutely go ahead and do that. My Twitter is free for anyone to contact me and hit me up at CODYLAC. That's me, baby.
All right, it's another Tuesday night. It's another C3 Panthers podcast, and we'll catch you Back next week, and until then, keep pounding.
Okay, here's how Miro works. See, it's amazing.
What's everyone doing at David's desk? Ever since marketing started using Miro's collaborative online whiteboard, he thinks all our other teams should sign up. Why? He says Miro's making his meetings disappear. And if every team gets on it, that means even less meetings. They're using Miro for brainstorms, mind maps, customer research.
So could we use Miro instead of having another 100 meetings for every round of feedback?
Yep. You can comment, react to ideas, even leave a recording on the board.
And what about presentations?
There are Miro templates for that.
How do you know so much about Miro?
I've actually been using it all along. I just used a Miro board to plan the best vacation.
Okay, I'm on board.
See how Miro users save up to 80 hours every year by meeting less and doing more. Get on board at Miro.com with 3 boards free forever. That's MIRO.com.